Train services between Durban and Merebank have resumed after disruptions caused by the KZN floods.
Yeah, in fact, in a statement, Prasa said that the resumption of the operations there will bring about some relief to commuters who rely on affordable services. In fact, final preparations to restore services in other areas, we're told, are underway. For the latest on this, let's bring in Prasa spokesperson Andiswa Makhanda, who joins us via our video link this morning. Andiswa, it's great to see you. Thank you for making time to speak to us. I mean, of course, this is welcomed, but I do wonder how much of a difference it makes in the face of the scale of destruction to your infrastructure in KZN.
Good morning, Ayanda. Good morning to your viewers. I think you're quite right to phrase the question in that manner. It is one line that we have recovered, given that we have so many lines that have been hugely disrupted. But I suppose that because we've taken a corridor approach where we are phasing in all our lines of the recovery, it's good news that we have at least some sort of line that carries hundreds and thousands of commuters. We are able to transport them between Merebank to Durban. So it is good news. We are quite happy with that milestone. But obviously, we're also bringing in the KwaMashu line soon and also the Tongaat line. So we are making progress steadily. We are getting there in recovering the services in KZN.
Yeah, my understanding is that it's still going to be a limited service that actually began yesterday, Wednesday, and it's going to run on diesel. Speak to me about your sustainability concerns around this.
The service that we're running is a limited service. We're not running it throughout the day, but we are running at 30-minute interval during peak hours. Using actually the electricity, the traction. I think there was a mistake made there on the statement. We are using electrical traction to run that service. And in terms of diesel locomotives, they're very quite expensive, which is why we are trying to restore all the stolen overhead electrical copper cables so that we can run the new electrical trains that are manufactured at Gibela. Diesel is quite expensive. We want to migrate from diesel locomotives so that we can start using the new electrical trains that we are manufacturing.
Yeah, and how's that going? I mean, the transition from diesel to electrical is urgent for a whole host of reasons, but one of which is because the costs of running on diesel, again, are quite unsustainable and won't be able to allow you to sustain the service or at least this line for much longer.
No, definitely, and we have started the rollout program for this new electrical train so that we can slowly phase out the diesel locomotives. Because of the vandalized infrastructure, because we don't have electrical cables and wiring in most of our lines, it is difficult to roll out all these new electrical trains because we don't have the infrastructure to run the new trains. And so what we are doing is that we are trying to replace all that stolen electrical wiring. As you could see, you would have seen also on social media possibly that even in Gauteng, where we had to close 3 of our lines in Lerala, Naledi, and Saltsville, so that we can start replacing those electrical cables so that we can roll out these blue electrical trains that are quite modern, very efficient. They are sitting there parking, waiting to be used, but there's no infrastructure. So we closed the lines in Gauteng so that we can roll out the new blue trains. We've also rolled them out in the Western Cape, but we really want to ramp up and speed up this rollout so that we can use the trains in more of our lines. But currently there's not enough infrastructure to run the new electrical trains.
Yeah, in fact, we've been showing some of the visuals of the replacement of some of that infrastructure as you and I are speaking. In the case of Eskom, we have heard from those in charge at that SOE that part of the sabotage to their infrastructure is internal. There are employees who are working against any kind of progress to have units, for instance, in their case, running optimally. How much of a concern or problem is that for Prasa in particular, given how long-standing issues around vandalism actually are?
I'm glad you raised this, Ayanda, because part of the problem that we are facing, similar to Eskom, is that some of these criminal syndicates are working with our employees. I mean, who best knows the infrastructure? Recently, this week, we had a successful prosecution conviction of one of our former employees who was found with about 12 rolls of copper cables. I mean, I think that was worth an estimated R1 million worth of copper cables that he had stolen from Prasa. He was caught red-handed by security guards carrying this large amounts of copper cables, and he didn't have any authorization to dismantle the infrastructure, and he was using a marked vehicle. So it becomes tricky to suss out whether a person using a Prasa marked vehicle has the authorization to dismantle and remove, and for what purposes would they be removing the copper cable. So we do have the similar challenge of some of our own employees are working in cahoots with criminals to steal and sabotage the rail infrastructure. And so we are strengthening our own internal processes and investigations and our own intelligence to find these people. And I think as soon as we've finalized that investigation, we will share it with the public. We will make sure that there is consequences and they are brought to book.
The cynics among us will be quick to point out that that employee can't have worked alone even inside of Prasa. What kind of plans are there to suss out if there are any of the employees who are currently with the SOE who are still involved in any kind of criminal activity?
I don't have much details that I can divulge, but I know that our head of security did explain at a meeting that they are using intelligence. They've gathered enough information and they know who the people are. They're just waiting for the right time. I want to leave it to the security people and SAPS to deal with that, but I know that we were given an update that there are certain that have been identified.
All right. Andiswa Makhanda, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. Really appreciate your time. Andiswa is the Prasa spokesperson, speaking to us there on the back of at least one line being restored in KwaZulu-Natal in the wake of the devastating floods in April. But also, of course, we can't help but touch on the many other long-standing issues in Prussia. One of them being, of course, damage to infrastructure, which seemingly, at least part of it, is taking place at the hands of some employees.